So the Prime Minister has now announced this Startup India program. But the critical part here would be to how to bring states on board in this program, because ultimately the ease of doing business scenario, ease of doing business on the ground would predominantly be decided by the states, what they do with startups and all. So how will the states be brought on board as far as this scheme is concerned?
So clearly the states have to be there, because anything you do is ultimately located somewhere, and so either it's a state or a union territory and all. So there are various components of the Startup India program, and in each of those components there will be participation. Take, for example, some of these challenges that we are thinking of under the Atal Innovation Mission. So we'll have these challenges with prizes in each state, maybe 3 per state and that sort of thing. Likewise, incubators, as we begin to populate them, states will be important stakeholders in those. Even now, some of the states like Kerala, for example, are doing very successful incubators. So that again will be given impetus to under the Startup India program. And so in similar ways, some of the tinkering labs that we are thinking of setting up, these will be set up in the educational institutions. And then again, there are a lot of state universities where the tinkering labs would be. So again, the state's role will be there.
Mm-hmm. Then one more thing which has come up now is that the government is planning to give some fund, probably a 5,000 crore fund or so, to NITI Aayog, so that it can make specific interventions, especially in terms of reforms in states. So that if it wants to pick up some measure, something which it wants to promote in a particular state, and similarly in other states also something else could be picked up, and that fund would be available to NITI Aayog to fulfill that objective. How will you go about that?
So, well, I don't know if the decision has been made really, but I think this is something probably we're hoping will be discussed and considered in the next budget. To my knowledge, there is no such decision at this stage. But should such a decision be made, I think NITI Aayog is very well placed to use these funds very effectively in a targeted sort of manner. So, for instance. Some of the funds could be used to incentivize economic reforms in the states, because, as you know, in our constitutional setup, there are a lot of issues that are under the state domain. So there is a state list in which only the states can legislate. So these are, for example, issues of land leasing laws, likewise digitization of land records. If on the road some states want to actually do the titles, land titles, if they want to do, then these funds could be used to incentivize these kinds of policy changes.
So, and so also in terms of global economy, the way global economy is going right now, there are pressures, on global economy. Right? Some people have started, just because of China, some people have started talking about going back to 2008 like crisis. So there are pressures as far as global scenario is concerned. And in case of India, also the growth scenario, although World Bank and IMF have maintained that the growth would be around 7.5%, the fisc is under pressure, especially from the expenditure side. Taxes are not growing that much, and also you have burdens to take on the budget this year, like pay commission, recommendation burden, and also one rank, one pension burden. So in terms of fisc also, there are challenges going ahead. So how do you think the government would be able to, or should be handling this?
Yeah, so there is certainly a big challenge there. But I think the government is up to meeting the challenge and staying the course on fiscal consolidation. Both on the tax and revenue side, work will have to be done. On the tax side, we need to ensure that we raise enough revenues, and some good luck here that the oil price has come down quite substantially and is likely to stay there over the next year, and so that allows us to at least part of the decline to convert part of the decline in price into revenues. That's one avenue, but we also would need to broaden the tax base as we go on direct taxes, on indirect taxes. Indirect taxes, of course, GST will hopefully come through. So if that happens, then that will hopefully help consolidate indirect tax revenues. On the direct tax revenues, both personal as well as corporate, we need to kind of work to broaden the tax base, and that will also allow us to then rationalize the tax rates.
Mhm.